Hello, viewers. Welcome to Northeast Today's live session. I'm Deboshri, and today our guest of the evening is Mrs. Atreyee Borooah Thekedath. She is not only a software engineer, but she is also a business entrepreneur, founder, and director of Web.com, one of Assam's leading software companies, and she is also one of the additional director of Apollo Hospital Guwahati, one of the member of board of governors at IIIT Jabalpur, and with more than 20 years of experience in entrepreneurship. So what are we waiting for? Let's welcome her to the show. Welcome to the show, ma'am. Welcome to Northeast Today's live session.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for taking your time out for our today's session. We know you are really busy with your everyday schedule. We see, or I've seen on the papers, you have doing going on panels, doing shows, and still you have taken time out for us. That means a lot. So thank you so much. And
Thank you.
ma'am, before we begin with our Q&A round, we have actually made our video editors and our technical crew has actually made a small video on you. Would you like to see that first?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am, let's head on with the video first, and then we'll start with the Q&A round.
Sure.
Atreyee Borooah Thekedath is an entrepreneur, the founder and managing director at Web.com India. She is also one of the member of Board of Governors at IIIT Jabalpur and an additional director at Apollo Hospital, Guwahati. Web.com, a software company started in 1999, is one of Assam's leading technology companies. Atreyee Borooah completed her degree in computer engineering from Manipal Institute of Technology and then went on to pursue MBA from Central Queensland University in Australia. After this, she went to work at Singapore but soon decided to set up her own IT training company. She is also an alumna of Golden Sachs 10,000 Women Program for Women Entrepreneurs. She also recently took part in a panel discussion held in Guwahati, Assam. The aim of the panel was to inspire girl students to become young entrepreneurs. Atreyee Borooah Thekedath has always been very vocal on social media and other prestigious dialogues about increasing the economic participation of women in entrepreneurship. With 20 years of experience, today Atreyee Borooah is one of the leading and most successful women entrepreneurs of not just Assam, but the entire Northeast.
What a wonderful video, ma'am. That was so nice, your entire journey.
Thank you so much. Very kind of
Yeah.
y'all to put it together.
Now, all credit to our video editors, and thank you so much. And ma'am, so from what we know through the video, at first you were a software engineer, and then you did an MBA from Australia in business studies. So, what made you incline into, why the sudden interest in entrepreneurship after your degree in software engineering?
Okay. Well, I'm an engineer and I did my MBA in information systems. So back then, my dream was to work for a multinational. And wanted to work for a multinational in Singapore, specifically that city, because I was very enamored by the order and the cleanliness and all of that. So after I finished my master's, I went to Singapore and I got my dream job in a multinational, well-respected multinational in Singapore, and I started working. But very soon, into my first year, I realized that this is not what I'm looking for, and I didn't like working for anybody else. I wanted to do things my way and be a master of my time. So I quit this job, and I came back to Assam in the late 90s to become an entrepreneur. So that's how my journey started.
All right. And, in the late 90s, it was not very usual, not very common for women to be in the IT sector. Not that there were any restrictions, but there were very fewer women in working in the IT sector in general in our country. So in that, in that regard, did you have face any challenges?
Being a software engineer with an MBA in information systems, technology is the only sector I knew something about. So it was a natural choice for me to, start working in the technology sector. And yes, back then there were hardly any women in work in technology. And 2 decades later, the situation has not changed much. There are still very few women in technology, and I am personally not aware of any woman-led technology company in this region here. So, but personally, I have never felt handicapped by my gender. I always believe that if you're good at what you do, then it doesn't matter whether you're a woman or you're a man. So I think what you require is to be good and passionate about what you do.
Also, okay, ma'am. Like you just mentioned, there is you're not aware about any women owning any IT companies in the
In
regions
Guwahati, yeah, in
in
this
Guwahati.
region.
Why do you think that's the case?
A lot of, even in the work, in the, even as employees, you don't get too many women, in technology in this region. I said naturally, there is a tendency for women to go in for not non-tech related fields of study. But then again, across the country, in India, we have the highest percentage of women studying technology, STEM, science, maths. But then in the workforce, we are, about 14% of women working in technologies. There are many factors contributing to this. Um, the less confidence of these women to get into the technology sector. There are gender biases, because it's considered a man's domain. There are
Yeah.
issues about getting access to capital. So there are many factors which contribute to this.
Okay. And well, since you started like after you were done working in Singapore, you came back to Assam and you started your own web training company. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. So
Yeah.
this was in the, sorry, yeah.
No, no, ma'am, ma'am, go on. My question was regarding that only. Like, what prompted you to start your own organization?
Okay. So, like I said, this was in the late 90s. And, my husband and I came back to Assam, and then we were looking around for business opportunities in technology. And then we came across this Swiss training company which offered training in web technologies. So, and we felt that there was a gap in this region, for high-end web technologies. So, which is why we took a franchise of this organization and started web.com as a training company to impart, web technology training. But then in 2000, it started well, but in 2000 there was the dot-com bust, and then the training business dried up. So that is when we converted this training company to a software development company, and there's been no looking back since.
Okay.
So
So
that's how the
you
journey.
okay, so you started web.com in 1999 and
Yes.
it's still going on. Like, were there any like hurdles in the beginning, about getting finance or about like while getting funds for starting your own organization and members and stuff like that?
Yeah. So, starting any business and sustaining it the first few years is very tough. It need not just be a technology company, it goes for all businesses. So if you get through the first few years, then I think it'll sustain. So getting access to finance is an issue, especially if you're a woman-owned company. Banks are hesitant to lend. The women are not, we are generally not so comfortable with the financials. We don't, so because of our, we have a general tendency to leave the financials and the, cash part of it to the men. It could
Yeah.
be men in the family, or it could be men working in your organization. So I think that is a drawback as women generally, we most women I've seen. But then it is up to us to consciously overcome this handicap, because I think if you have a good grip on your numbers, if you know the cash situation in your business, then you can sustain it and you can take proper decisions which will help the business grow and sustain. Initially, sorry, yes.
No, ma'am. Please, like I was just saying, I didn't know this happens. With banks that they hesitate to give funds to women. This is something new. I didn't know this
No, I
before.
mean, you cannot. I mean, if you go with a project proposal which is not foolproof, then obviously, you can't expect the bank to lend. So the onus is on the women, on the entrepreneurs, be it man or woman. So, to build, to have a foolproof, document, to have a full project plan in place, so to
Yeah.
study the feasibility well, so then the banks will lend. But if that is not done, and that requires training, that requires you to understand your business, so for that you need to seek help, to initially understand and to prepare a good project report which will help you get finance.
Okay. And ma'am, you started your own company. It's been doing so well. It's one of the leading technological companies of Assam today, and not just Assam, of the entire Northeast. So, what advice would you give to somebody who's, just initially starting up a business for, starters?
Okay, so I think for me, I think the key trait in a successful entrepreneur is perseverance. So entrepreneurship is not a bed of roses. It's not as if it's always things are going to go well and it's always going to go right. There'll be lots of ups and downs, but if the way you ride the highs, you also must be able to stomach the lows. So I look around and I see a lot of people giving up at the slightest rough patch, and they give up. But I think that is a it's a big drawback. You need to think out of the box, you need to make it work. So, and you have to try and try again and learn from your mistakes and keep at it. If you keep at it, there's no reason why you should not be successful. And another thing I find is that people look around and see that that person is doing so well, and maybe if I start that thing, even I'll do well. But that is wrong, because what you do, you should be passionate about. So if you naturally enjoy what you do, you're passionate about what you do, then there's no reason why you won't do well in it. But if you're doing it because somebody else is doing it, some successful person has done it, so it may not always work. And like I mentioned before, you should take that extra effort, make that extra effort to learn the financials. It doesn't come naturally to everybody. 20 years down the line, I'm still learning, but I try, and you have to understand the cash flows in your business. So that is the lifeblood. A lot of startups start off well. They have the technical ability, they have the innovative skills, they have all of that. But if they don't understand the numbers, and finally a business runs on cash flows, you have to know your cash flows, understand that. That is the lifeblood of any business. So if you get a good grip, then you're able to take decisions which will sustain and grow the business. So I think that is important, being passionate, doing being perseverant, and understanding the financials. I think, to my mind, those are really important factors.
Yeah, maybe that's the reason why so many business start up every year, but not many of them carry on. After a year or so, the business fails, sadly. And like you said, we shouldn't be following the rat race, what everybody else is doing, but our own call, follow our own call. So, did you always have this knack for entrepreneurship?
No, I think, like I said, when I was in college, I just wanted to work for a multinational, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
So it's only once I started doing that and I wanted to do my own thing, that's when I dived into entrepreneurship. I was young, I was reckless, I didn't have any responsibilities, so I could take the plunge. I learned, I swam against the tide and I learned on the job. So, yes.
And
I've
ma'am,
moved myself.
yeah, a while ago, our technical crew, we could see the pictures of yours on the screen, and I I'd like to request our technical team should show this. Yeah, this one. Could you tell us about this picture?
Okay. See, I hold this global mentoring walk. It's the Vital Voices Global Mentoring Walk. Actually, I'm an alumni of the Fortune program of the US State Department.
Oh,
So, as an
wow.
alumni of this, I am also a member of the global, Vital Voices leadership network. So, as a member of this network, we organize a global mentoring walk in our own cities. So I'm from Guwahati, so I organize it here. Like me, there are this walk is held all over the world in different countries on the same day. So last year we had it. Last year we didn't have it because of COVID, but the prior I've done it for 6 years now. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
like held in like 130 something cities in 60 some odd countries. So on the same day, the members of the Vital Voices global network, we organize these walks. So the whole idea behind this work is to empower young women, to be a bridge between the young women and the established senior women. So in this walk, we get established women leaders from different fields. It could be journalism, it could be professors, it could be entrepreneurs, lawyers, media, all of that. And we get these young girls, and we match them together. So each mentor would have 2 3 girls, and it's a women's program. We would have 2 3 girls whom they talk with and interact. And these girls also don't really get an opportunity to meet such successful women,
Okay.
and they are they come from smaller towns and they're not very exposed. So it's a very, very good opportunity for them to interact and talk to these mentors. They can exchange numbers, they can stay in touch. So that is our objective, to be a bridge between the mentees and the mentors. And it's been very well received, and I've done it, like I said, for more than 6 years now. And yeah, so it's something I love to do. It's normally held around the Women's Day, Women's Day. So whenever they have fixed the date for it, so all of us do it on the same day.
And these women can be from different fields, like you mentioned.
They are normally young girls, and they are either studying different fields. So it could be professional, it could be personal, it could be just the opportunity to speak to a more established uh, you know uh, established woman and look at her as a mentor. So there are sometimes personal issues they can't speak with anybody, they can't speak to anybody about. So those issues also they can bring back. These women also want to do something for society, to give back. They don't know how to do, how to reach out. So we are like a this program is like a bridge. So it's very nice. We've seen a lot of
That's
positive.
a great initiative for you to, help out these women in need and who are wanting to do better in life, wanting to take an initiative. That's really great. And ma'am, I also saw one picture of yours, and I think there was a poster of Golden Sachs. It's a very prestigious organization, and I've read you're an alumni of that. So could you tell us about more about Golden Sachs and your role in it?
Yes, this is actually the 10,000 Women Entrepreneurs Program by Goldman Sachs. So this was held at ISB Hyderabad. So it was a very, very life-changing experience, because first of all, you are in a residential program in an institution of ISB's caliber in Hyderabad, being taught by the best professors. And another thing is your peer group. Some 54 women entrepreneurs across the country, who have achieved a certain level of, success in their own ventures, were brought together for this program. So it was there was a lot of peer learning which took place, and it was a very enlightening experience. Just interacting with these women, learning from these great professors. So it was very, very life changing, I would say.
All right. And ma'am, could you tell us about this picture that we can see on the screen right now?
Okay, this is at NIT. This is in NIT Aizawl, where I had gone for a talk. I was invited for a talk on entrepreneurship. So this is me addressing. This is at an NICT which was held here long back. You can see in 2017.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah,
This is
that's
another entrepreneurs, conclave which was held here in Guwahati. So
okay. Okay, were women awarded like at this function?
No, they were just we were just recognized. There were a lot of women who were recognized for the work we had done.
All right,
So
all right,
it wasn't an award; it's just a recognition, sort of.
all right, done. Could we get to the next picture? And this one?
This is at Don Bosco Institute. I think it's 2016-17. It was their MBA. I was addressing the MBA students at one of their functions.
So you have done a lot of shows, no? Like, oh, this is also a graduation.
This is for one of one of the graduation of one of their batches graduating. So I had gone to address them. This is government. We do a lot of website related work. So this is one of the events where the work. The government was organizing an event where they were recognizing some good work which was done for in this website's standardization program.
Yeah, we can see Sarvananda Sonowal and Keshav Mohanto in the picture.
Yeah, this was a few years ago. Yes.
That's a really great picture. Okay, we have another one here.
Yeah, this is at the American Center in the U.S. Consulate in Calcutta. This is a panel discussion on increasing women's participation in the workforce. So I was one of the panelists.
All right, and you also recently attended a panel discussion in Guwahati itself about encouraging young girl students to be future women entrepreneurs. So, what was that all about? And how can we encourage girls to become entrepreneurs? How do we do that in school?
Okay, so this was quite novel, and these young girl who reached out to me from one of the local schools here. So she was the captain of a STEM club for women. So I found that concept very, very interesting. And she said that we are going to, we want you to come and address our students, our girls, and help them, take up, motivate them to take up entrepreneurship. So I found that very interesting. So it was an online event, so I participated, and I was very happy to see girls as young as they were like class 8 onwards, and it was interactive. The girls are like bright and smart, and they asked a lot of questions, and it was very good. So I think it's a great way to sensitize young girls. So if you start talking to them, letting them interact with entrepreneurs, asking questions, getting ideas from that age onwards. Class 8 is really, really young. So if you start doing that from that age, I think all schools must and have this. It's a very good way to encourage women, girls and women to get into the workforce. And if you start that young, so I'm sure they will get into the workforce.
Yeah, if their basic grasp if you start from the grassroots level, their knowledge, like you just mentioned, would be really great. And when you started up, and like many of people in the 90s when they started up, they didn't have the resources. But children this day, students, they are getting all these resources,
exactly.
And will be doing so much better in the future. And how, like you just mentioned, how can we increase the economic participation of women in entrepreneurship, to increase the overall GDP of the country? How can we increase the economic participation of women in entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so like we know, women make up nearly 50% of our population, but barely 20% of women are there in the workforce. So I think a key issue is access to capital. So very often, women don't have assets in their name, which they can pledge for collateral to get bank finance. But to overcome, but there are several schemes now by the government, which allow you to take, loans at collateral-free loans. But the issue is that the awareness for this is not that much. So women need to know how to access these loans. It's there, the schemes are there, but more awareness needs to be created. The bank officials or the financial institutions need to handhold these women to help them access, get these loans. So getting access to capital is one issue. Secondly, a lot of women drop out of the workforce when they have their children, and and that's because we don't have enough childcare facilities. I mean, you drop out and then you have to wait for the child to either start school or things. So it's a long gap. 2-3 years are gone, and so it's difficult to get back to the workforce. But I think if you're an entrepreneur, you overcome this issue because even from home you can do your own work and you can run your enterprise and you can balance. So that is an advantage. And secondly, I think support. Families need to support their daughters and their wives in these ventures. So I think family support plays a critical role in whether the woman can start her own enterprise or not. Family support, emotional support, and financial support. That is important.
And ma'am, like last year, like you mentioned, like women shouldn't stop because of having families or children. So how do you and you are doing it so well, and you have been managing this so many organizations. So how do you do it? How do you strike a balance between personal and professional life?
Well, I think, as women, we are the backbone of our families. How our children turn out finally rests on, it's our responsibility. I think women play a key role if the mothers are involved in the development, closely involved in the, development of their children. I think the children turn out okay. So everybody has just 24 hours, but we have the additional responsibility of our children, of our husbands, of our parents, to look after our families. So the only way we can do it is to prioritize. So to my mind, I'm very clear. My family and my work are my priorities. So everything else is, everything else comes after that. Even though I have, worked, my children are now grown, but I have never missed a school function. I've never been away when if they've fallen sick. I've always been there for them. And I spend quality time. So I think spending quality time is very, very important. And you need to be a friend to your children because, like I said, they need somebody to talk to, and you have to keep those communication channels open. And the good thing about being an entrepreneur is that even if it's, if I don't find during the day, I can always do it at midnight, my work. So you can balance. So you have to be, you have to manage your time. I plan my whole day so very, very carefully, and I'm very careful not to waste any time. Of course, you sacrifice your TV channel, your serials and your naps and your outing with your friends. So there are sacrifices we make, but then if you're clear about what your priorities are, everybody's priorities are different. Mine and my family and my work. So I prioritize my life that way.
And ma'am, this is a beautiful picture that we can see on the screen. Like, where is this?
This is it's in Norway. So it's one of, it's a very popular tourist place. It's called Preskestollen. And you see a lot, it's featured in a lot of, magazines and all. You'd see this point. Yeah, it's a very pretty place in Norway, Preskestollen.
Yeah. Okay. And like you were saying, like that those are some great tips that you gave for women who should maintain a balance between work and family life. But still, in our country, we see only 20% of the percentage of female entrepreneurs is just 20, as compared to male entrepreneurs, which is 80%. So, could you explain more on that? What's your stand on that?
Well, like I said, you need the support of your families, to be an entrepreneur. You need access to capital, so that either, now the government's making it a lot easier. There are a lot of schemes available, but then the awareness about this is poor. So, they need to be more aware. And you should, a lot of women shy away from taking risk. Entrepreneurship is always a risk. You have to invest some capital. You have to invest your time. It may work, it may not work, but then unless you try, you wouldn't know. So those are, things which, and I think better childcare facilities. if there are good childcare facilities, then a woman need not take such a long break before going back to work. But if there's nobody to look after her child, then obviously she cannot work. She has to be home. So that then
Exactly.
something from you can do an entrepreneurial venture from home. But then you've got to manage your time. You have to manage your time, and you cannot neglect your family and your children. So it's a very fine balance.
You have to be a multitasker, no? Like
You
how you
have to
do it
be.
is, yeah, you're setting an example for so many women out there to, you have been, like we just saw a picture of you on a trip with your family. And then again, we see pictures of you going to a global week of Golden Sachs, like you're doing it all. So you're setting such a great example for so many women of not just Assam, of our entire region, for our entire country. That's really commendable. And ma'am, like you studied in Australia, and then you went on to work in Singapore. So we see that has increased now. Like we see an increasing trend among youth who, a lot of whom like they go out to study and settle abroad, or start up their own business. So is it an important factor, like going to abroad? Is it an important factor to be successful and to get a wider view of things?
Well, I don't think you have to go abroad and study to be successful. You can study anywhere. But I think it is important for you to work for an aspirational company. I think it's very important to work for somebody else. Some company which inspires you, or because you need to learn, you need to imbibe the values. They are obviously successful because of certain things they're doing right. So if you're working for them, you have a first-hand knowledge about what is right. How you can also do that, maybe do it better, but at least you have a better understanding. So I always feel if you have an opportunity, you must work for somebody else, learn the ropes, and then start on your own. If that is an option, I think it's a good way to start. Then you don't make so many mistakes, or you can it's a little easier, the learning curve.
All right. And yeah, starting it up when you started things up on your own. So you're saying that's tougher than, learning and working under somebody else.
That it's if I think it's easier if but I had a very short experience. Like I said, I was with a multinational. I was with HP in Singapore, but I did learn during my short duration there. I still imbibed certain things which I could implement in my business, or it helped me in my thought process. So working for a good company helps you understand the systems, the processes, and you can come back and implement that in your business. I think for a business it's very important to have processes and streamline your business. However small, however big, a streamlined business with proper processes in place will always be more scalable and more sustainable.
All right. And ma'am, since you're from Northeast, like we have to ask this question. There are so many emerging business women or entrepreneurs from Assam too today, like many of whom are in handicraft and handloom business or a pickle business. But they do not get recognized as much. Do you think women entrepreneurs from the Northeast have it tougher out there as compared to women entrepreneurs from other parts of the country?
Well, I don't think so anymore. The internet is available to everybody. It is up to us. Internet, the facilities now also, whether you're sitting here or whether you're sitting in Delhi, the basic infrastructure is there. The internet is there, and I think internet is a great tool, but you need to use it efficiently, and you need to use it well. So I don't think we are in any way disadvantaged being here. It's up to us how we want to project ourselves, and how well we're using these tools which are available to everybody. So I think for that our mindset needs to change. We need to stop feeling we are disadvantaged being here. I think that is the first step.
Yeah.
We are no longer disadvantaged being here because there are tools available. I mean, the internet is a great leveler, and we must utilize it well.
Yeah, I have heard you talking a lot about in your in saying in your interviews that you shouldn't just sit at home feeling sorry for yourself, but take action and use the resources. And that was really motivational. Like, we do have the resources that our parents or our grandparents didn't have, and we can do so much more with those.
Exactly. I always say this, I'm like, whenever people say that we are disadvantaged here, I said, no, why should we be? I mean, we have the same facilities available. It's up to us. Let's stop feeling sorry for ourselves. Let's sit up and, work. Let's start getting, doing things.
And ma'am, is you have been in the business sector and entrepreneurship for for almost 20 years now.
More than
So
20 years, yeah.
more than 20 years. Wow. Okay, that's a long journey. More than a decade you have been here.
2 decades, yeah.
Yeah. So, is there any change that you wish to see in the business sector of our country?
See, now I think, the youth now are very, very lucky. They're being they are being they've been given so many opportunities which we never had 20 years ago. So it's just up to them to everything is there. You have incubation centers, you have so many schemes, you have people trying to mentor you. You have the works, but it's up to you to take it, grab it with both hands, and make it work.
And okay, we have our audience questions coming up, ma'am.
Okay.
So, okay, let's see the questions first. Um, okay, we have a question from Sanithya Gogoi.
Okay.
Ma'am, do you want me to read out the question?
I can see that. You can see females choose to not go into STEM fields. Okay. But there is a push across the world for women to get into the STEM field, especially in the US. A lot of people, even in India. So I think I don't, that's a personal choice. If you're interested in it, you have an aptitude towards it, then why not? Like you would get into any other field. So STEM is just one of it. It depends on your aptitude. If you don't have the aptitude, don't have the interest, then I'm not, you should not get into it. But if you are interested, then why not? I think it's a great field to be in.
All right, great answer, ma'am. And ma'am, like last year we saw, the COVID pandemic taking a toll on the entire world, not just and every sector. Okay, we have another comment from Banu Dai saying truly inspiring. That's really sweet of you. Thank you so much for your comment.
Sweet.
Yeah. So we have another comment coming up from Grandmaster UV. Okay. Okay, and ma'am, like going back to my question, like I was saying, the COVID pandemic took a toll on everybody, on every sector. So, where was the business, IT sector, entrepreneurship sector affected too, and how did you did you have to cope up with anything?
Well, I think the IT sector, by God's grace, wasn't affected much. We adapted, at least and most IT companies adapted to work from home scenario pretty well, without much of a hitch. Of course, there were some certain infrastructural hiccups of, in the remoter areas of power cuts and all that, but that was fine. The fact is that we got, we could work throughout the pandemic and throughout the lockdowns. So I'm very grateful to my team who, adapted to this new normal of working from home very quickly, so we could continue our work without much downtime. So I'm grateful for that. Grateful to God, grateful to my team.
Okay, that's also great, ma'am. And like earlier you were saying that there should be more awareness about schemes, how women can get funds to start up their own business. So, how do you think we as a civil society and the government can help women entrepreneurs from rural parts of the country? For instance, from Northeast, there are many women who have great ideas, but they do not know how to implement it because of lack of awareness at rural areas or villages. and lack of education. So how do you think these women can be helped?
See, in the rural areas, it's mainly, people working in handlooms and crafts and all of that. So, the women who are in the urban areas who have the connects, so they can help them, build the market linkage. So that is one way to do it. Women in other, so it finally all boils down to market linkage, and that can only that and social media. I mean, internet and social media is a great way to connect, the entrepreneurs to the rest of the world. And secondly, I think there are a lot of financial institutions who are in the process of who are already working with women entrepreneurs and at the grassroots level. So I think the onus is on them to increase the sensitization, uh, you know, through workshops and all of that. So more and more women come in, more and more women are able to sustain and grow their businesses. Coming in is fine, but sustaining is another different story. Sustain and grow.
Yeah. So, ma'am, like you mentioned, it's important for women first, to get involved with social media and importance of social linkage. So, how important is socializing in business?
See, I think socializing would not be the right term. I would like to call it networking, professional networking. So professional networking is important because, through these networks, you meet people working in different sectors, in different areas. So it's very important to expand your horizons. It's fine, if you just continue to work in the same sort of, same area, same people doing the same thing, then you get stuck. You have to look around, see what the others are doing, and you can only do this. Good way to do is when you interact with people, learn, how they're doing things, doing new things. So it's a way to grow. It's a way to grow mentally, to be aware what's happening, to grow mentally. And of course, once you have that exposure, you know what's happening, then you can implement and grow your business accordingly.
Okay.
So
And
professional networking is important.
yeah, so like we have to know people from our own field. We like networking, like you mentioned. Yeah, that's
Yes.
actually the correct term that
Yeah.
should have been used. So that is really important. And you like prior also you mentioned that women shouldn't shy away, but interact with people, get to learn more from what others are doing, and that's some great advice right there. But like talking about Northeast, there are many parts in our region which lack basic facilities and infrastructure and network issues. So can the IT sector help improve this?
Yeah, thanks to the pandemic, actually, the IT infrastructure has drastically improved. People who are unaware or, could not use any form of technology are very now comfortably doing Zoom meetings and, online seminars and all of that. So this pandemic has really, accelerated the adoption of technology. And because of this, our infrastructure also has drastically improved in the last, year and a half. The lot of push on digitalization by our state government, by the national government. So I think going forward, we are on the right track, and going forward, things will only get better.
All right. And ma'am, you have studied in Australia. You pursued your MBA from
Information
Australia,
systems.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, would you say your business education helped in your career, and is it important to study in business if you want to carry on with entrepreneurship?
Not really. I mean, your MBA degree, of course, will teach you, the basics, the processes, the systems, and what you need to know. But I think, of course, I wouldn't write it off. Yes, it would. I mean, it's not critical, but if you have a business degree, it helps. But I think a lot of learning happens on the job itself, and being aware by looking around, by learning constantly. Luckily, or fortunately, I have a love of learning, so I'm constantly doing courses online, offline. Whenever I get an opportunity, I do a course. I may not retain all of it, but I like to learn. So I think that everybody needs to learn. You have to constantly learn all the time. Only then you can grow.
and also have the eagerness to learn. And
Eagerness to learn. Because if you
yeah.
don't learn, you get left behind. Things are changing all the time. So you have to keep up.
Yeah, and there's so much competition out there. Like people are doing, like you mentioned, there are several courses available online. We have websites like Coursera. We have John Hopkins University's website where we can do this online business courses and several other courses and constantly learn. That's the key, like you're saying.
Learning should be a part of your, routine. You need to constantly upgrade. And, yeah.
Yeah, and you have given us a lot of lesson and advice, on this whole entrepreneurship, IT sector. Like, what was the biggest lesson you learned throughout your career of more than 2 decades?
That there's no shortcut to success.
Okay.
You have to work really, really hard.
Yeah, that's
You know,
you have been like you have even worked with international clients, right, man?
yes, I guess I do.
Yeah, like which is it challenging, scary?
Well, I think we learn a lot from them because of their, we learn how, our delivery and everything we have been forced to improve upon because, the expectations are in a different level. So we have to retain those clients, we have to deliver accordingly. So it's been a great learning for us. So we constantly learn. We learn
And
a lot from our clients.
ma'am, according to you, is the IT sector of India lacking behind as compared to other countries?
IT is a field which is very, very dynamic. It's constantly changing. Nobody knows what's going to come in tomorrow. So, and the new curriculum which has been introduced includes things like artificial intelligence and data science and all of that. So it's a good step because the children are going to get groomed from an early age. But of course, it requires a lot of innovation, and we do have a lot of catching up to do. But I think we will get there.
All right. And
So,
ma'am,
yes.
yeah, ma'am, please continue. No, no, please continue.
No, no, I said it's an evolving journey, and we have a long way to go, but we are on the right track.
All right. And like you are a business entrepreneur, software engineer, and you are so much more. So, tell our viewers, like, what are the pros and cons of being a female entrepreneur in 2021 in this century?
Well, like I said before, I have never really, given my gender any thought. I'm an entrepreneur. I just happen to be a woman. So for me, my gender is, it's of no consequence. But I think there is a bias, not so much now, but
Yeah.
as a young girl when I started out, people had a hard time taking me seriously. They're like, what is this young girl? What does she know about technology? Because
Yeah.
the stereotypes. So of course, you just have to stand your ground and you have to do good work, and then perception will change. So your work has to speak for itself. So I am no, my gender is not of any consequence. I don't feel handicapped by it. I think it's my work which should speak for itself. So I
Yeah.
think the women should feel that way. Why should gender be of any consequence?
Right. And it always hit me personally. Like when we say talk about entrepreneurs, we don't say male entrepreneur. We just say entrepreneurs. But while we talk about business women, female, or we add a female to it. Like, why
Yeah.
does that happen? Why do we say that? Women scientists, women entrepreneur. There's always that. That shouldn't be the
Exactly.
case.
It should not be the case. I mean, what does it matter if it's a woman or a man? If you're,
Right.
you need to get the job done and you're getting the job done. So I personally never let my gender, be any sort of handicap. I just happen to be a woman, so what? I'm an entrepreneur first.
That's so nice and badass. And ma'am, like surely if people, in their journey, they have hard times as well as good times, success, failures. So how do you persevere or get through hard times when when there is a setback in your business or in your professional life?
Yes, I think it helps because I'm a die-hard optimist. So, however dark, however grim the situation might be, I always think that it can only get better. But of course, there are times when I have, I cry, with frustration, privately. But then once I have let out that steam, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
So, I think, of course, we have our moments of great frustration, but that's part of the package. But I cry alone, and then I'm off. I have it off my chest, and I'm happy again, ready to take on more challenges.
Wow, that's so great and motivating. And ma'am, could you tell us about this picture that we can see on the screen right now?
Yeah, actually, I was part of this thing called the Young Indians. You see there, it's a youth vertical of Confederation of Indian Industry, CII. So I was heading
Yeah.
the chapter here in the Northeast. So in one of, this is when I had gone to Siliguri to start the Siliguri chapter. So this was the launch of the Siliguri chapter. So
All
these were
right.
taken there. Yeah.
Yeah. And ma'am, which would you say the earlier you were talking about how you got through hard times and you cry alone and do not let your gender, become a factor in giving an excuse or it's a setback. So was
Yeah.
that the mindset that helped you? Would you say that's the mindset that helped you get where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, perseverance is really one of the key traits of an entrepreneur. I'm very, very perseverant and I don't give up that easily. And yeah, and of course, you have to be an optimist, right? You have to think that is only, if you're going to be a pessimist and mourn and, mope, it's not going to get you anywhere. So I think it's a bent of mind and that, things will work out. I think with that sort of mindset, it has to. You have to keep trying. You can't let uh, the dire circumstances or whatever pull you down.
Yeah. And ma'am, that's a great message. And also, like on the screen, we can see another picture of yours. And what's this about?
This was in Jabalpur in Madhya Pradesh. I'm actually on the board of governors of IIIT, Jabalpur. So they had a tree planting ceremony of all the members of the board of governors. We planted a tree each. So this is from that. Pictures
Oh,
from there.
you are a board, one of the member of
I'm
board
a
of
member
governors.
of the board of governors. Yeah.
Oh, so like when did that happen?
This was, I think, a year and a half now. I've been on the board.
And you are also an additional director of Apollo Hospitals, Guwahati.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, ma'am, could you brief us on the like how does what is your role in that?
Well, there are 5 members in the board, and I'm one of them. So, it's a private limited company. So, we oversee the overall policies of the hospital.
Okay. And ma'am, like that's so great. Like we were talking at earlier too, and you were giving advice on how to maintain balance between family and work life. And as I was going through your Facebook profile, I could see like beautiful pictures of your family, and it was so nice to see a strong woman out there, and you have a beautiful family, I must say. So what happens when this do ever women come up to you and they're like, yeah, even I want to do this, like even I want to do what you're doing, even I want to be an entrepreneur, work here, in the IT sector or any sector per se, like do they ask for advice or anything like that?
Well, nobody's come to me saying they would like to start something in the IT sector, but
All
then
right.
there have been other women who've come saying that I've inspired them in some way, and they're happy. They're motivated by what I said, or in some speech or whatever they would have heard. So it's nice if I can help motivate and
Yeah.
people, more and more girls, to get into the workforce, become entrepreneurs. I think it's a responsibility now, to help the next generation.
Yeah, and you also have a very lovely daughter, mom. So she must also be really proud to see her mom doing so well. And I also came across an And she must have also seen articles of yours in newspaper. I recently came across an article of yours in a local English daily, and I've seen your interviews in TV. So, what's her reaction when she sees you in articles or in TV?
She's proud. I think yeah, I think my family, Touchwood, is very supportive, and
So sweet.
yeah, they encourage me a lot. They of
That must
course
be
also
really.
point out my mistakes, and they're like, you shouldn't have said this. So they're constantly judging. But then, yeah, they really are my support system.
And you also have really lovely friends. I've like I saw in your Facebook, like there were many people and friends coming up, and saying, supporting you, and all of your posts saying, you've been doing so well, and yeah, we want to do this too. And in our profile too, like when we posted, today's poster about you would be coming on up to our show, there were many people asking, oh, she's coming, yeah, we have seen her. That's so nice. So so many people motivated by women can do so much for the society. And like, any advice for any aspiring women out there who want to be entrepreneurs?
Yes, I think you really should take the plunge. If you aspire to be a woman, aspire to be an entrepreneur, you must give it a shot. Because entrepreneurship is not, it's not a bed of roses. So don't have any illusions about that. There'll be highs and lows, but you'll get through it. And I love this quote by Mark Twain. So I'm going to, the famous author, I'm going to quote him. It says, 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did do. So sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover. So I think this is very, very beautiful, and it's inspiring. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, you're thinking about it, you're sitting on the fence, I think take the plunge. You'll make mistakes, you'll learn, but you must not 20 years later look back and say, oh, I should have done it. You should not have any
Okay.
regrets.
You have like 20 years down the line, like, are you you must be really happy. Like, how does it feel looking back from when you first started?
Well, I have no regrets. I am glad I quit my job and I came back. I love being in Assam. And I'm really happy that I came back and I'm doing something in my own place. And I hope I'll be able to inspire. I would love to see, more and more women come in and become successful entrepreneurs and let our, state shine and all of them do well. So,
Ma'am, this honestly felt like an inspiring talk session. This was thank you again for taking your time. This was so motivating and inspiring to see you talk, and all that you have done in contributing to the IT sector and business sector, and going on to inspire so many women. So thank you so much for taking your time out for our today's session. And ma'am, we'll love to have you again. And just like really glad to have you on the show.
thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure interacting with you. Thank you so much.
And for our viewers, you can check out today's session. It will be on our Facebook Live Facebook page. And leave your comments there. And ma'am, any last messages to viewers watching us live?
Like I said, take the plunge. Entrepreneurship is a great journey. So, follow your passion, be perseverant, and take the plunge.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am, again for today's session. I won't keep you for long. That's it for today's
Okay.
session. Thank you again.
Thank
Bye bye, ma'am. Have a great
Bye-bye.
evening.
Thank you. You too.
Atreyee Borooah Thekedath is an entrepreneur, the founder and managing director at web.com India. She is also one of the member of Board of Governors at IIIT Jabalpur and an additional director at Apollo Hospital, Guwahati. Web.com, a software company started in 1999, is one of Assam's leading technology companies. Atreyee Borooah completed her degree in computer engineering from Manipal Institute of Technology and then went on to pursue MBA from Central Queensland University in Australia. After this, she went to work at Singapore but soon decided to set up her own IT training company. She is also an alumna of Golden Sachs 10,000 Women Program for Women Entrepreneurs. She also recently took part in a panel discussion held in Guwahati, Assam. The aim of the panel was to inspire girl students to become young entrepreneurs. Atreyee Borooah Thekedath has always been very vocal on social media and other prestigious dialogues about increasing the economic participation of women in entrepreneurship. With 20 years of experience, today Atreyee Borooah is one of the leading and most successful women entrepreneurs of not just Assam, but the entire Northeast.